Hi again, and welcome to another video where I talk about game stuff, because, yeah, it's what I try to do. It's Thursday in the evening, 6:30, and I've had a couple of days off doing nothing as normal, and but I have been keeping up on some of the E3 news and just more gaming news in general. So it's sparked a couple of topics I wanted to discuss. So first thing in this video is a couple of game concepts that I am not super in love with. And I'm going to talk about one, and then after that I'll talk about the other. Duh. The one I want to talk about first, I think, is going to be the multiplayer thing. I want to talk about this because at one moment in time I'll be thinking about how much I just really dislike all this multiplayer stuff that's going on in gaming. Not that other people love it. If you love multiplayer stuff, I'm talking things like, competitive gaming stuff like Call of Duty, League of Legends and whatnot. I think I've talked about this in the past too, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about it. If you like that kind of stuff, great. I'm not saying that this segment of gaming should go away. I'm just saying just how much I dislike it, how much I don't care for that. I don't know. I guess it's what it makes people become. And this could be said about anything in life, anything that's competitive, sports, to, people's careers or whatever, anything that kind of makes people get super aggressive and try to take the other person down and try to boast about how badass they are. And when it's in important things in life, whatever. But when it's in gaming, I feel like it's a bit of a plague. When you see people in gaming chat, calling each other noobs and calling each other campers for playing the game a certain way, and this so-called gaming etiquette about, like, you don't camp and you don't do this and you don't do that. I think it's really ridiculous. Like, when I play a game for two reasons. One, it's either got a story to it that I want to progress through and I want to get to the payoff at the end. I want to see what happens to the characters that I've become invested in and the world that I've come to love. And the other reason why I play games is because they're fun. Or at least I play a certain kind of game because I find that game to be fun. For example, a multiplayer style game that I'd play a lot of here lately, and that's Gmod. And I've mentioned this many times before. And yes, it's a multiplayer game. The game doesn't really work without other players. I know there's some modes where you can go in and build stuff, and you can really, mess around in games. I go on to several of the maps that I've downloaded by myself just to look around and admire them, or maybe even find something interesting that I can do, little cheatsy spots, to borrow a C-Nanner's term. But for the most part, I want to go into a server where there's going to be other players, and they're going to want to play the game right, but leave some room to have some fun with it too. Like when I get into a map and people are camping or whatever, I don't flip out over it. But I think the reason why I wanted to talk about this came up last night when I was playing Murder in a server that I've played on many times and had a lot of fun with. And there was somebody who must have been an admin or a mod for that server, and their character skin was Wall-E from the Disney movie Wall-E, but he kept turning himself invisible somehow. So all you could really make out was like a faint silhouette of where he was and a little bit of text above him, not his screen name, but text. I've seen that in another server where I think you can buy it as a perk or whatever, especially if you're a mod or an admin. And it seemed like every time he either had the gun or he was the murderer, he would disappear and you couldn't see him. And I just made a comment in the chat. I said, "Oh, it's really, really nice to be able to be small and invisible." And basically got this nice thing of, if if you don't like the way it's played here, you can go somewhere else. And I was like, no, you might want me to, but I'm not going to leave. Just pointing out the fact that that's the way it is. You know, camping and hiding behind doors and stuff like that, things happen, things change. People get tired of just doing that, and eventually they'll make themselves seen. But a guy like that, obviously he liked to flaunt his power and wanted to do it. And that's the point of what I'm saying with multiplayer. It brings out that aspect of people. And I try not to feed the trolls. I try not to give into it. Like I said, I can run around and do whatever I want to while other people are effectively bringing the entire game to a halt. But I will open my mouth from time to time to say what I think is unfair. And then when they shoot back with that, why don't you just go somewhere else? I'm like, no, I'm not going to go anywhere else. I'm going to stay right here. I'm going to hang with this. And that's what I did. In fact, I got a little trollish after that and was like the murderer the next round. So I just went to a bathroom and just sat there and didn't go anywhere. It was funny because within a round or two, that admin guy left. I'm not going to sit here and proclaim that it was because of what I did and I pissed him off and made him leave, but it felt satisfying to me. But Gmod is a fun game, and as long as you get in some place where people are having fun, whether they're playing by the rules, to the letter, or goofing around and having some fun with it, that's the way it is. I've been playing hide and seek on of all things, a My Little Pony server. I didn't realize that's what it was when I entered into the server, but the word pony was in the name of it. But I didn't think about that because I don't know much about My Little Pony. My daughter knows more about it than I do, and I think that's kind of the way that it should be. But there are other people out there who like My Little Pony stuff and whatever. The thing about it was the server was fun, and the people who were on there were fun. Now, their admins will sometimes cheat and do things that keep people from being able to finish the game, like to win the round. But they just have so much fun otherwise. It's a really cool little group of people, so fun. That's the thing about it. Call of Duty, Battlefields, these games where I've seen footage of people playing on it is just, it's so intense. It's so, you've got to do the right thing for the team. You've got to kill a bunch of people and don't be a scrub, don't be a noob. It's just ridiculous and mind-boggling to me. For those people who like it, more power to you. But the multiplayer thing, it's just getting bigger and bigger as more people get online, as more people have that ability with their consoles, their PCs. And it's something I've been saying for, I'd say, a good 10, 12 years now, that the more online gets pushed into everything, the more it pushes guys like me away from what is now becoming, it seems like, a majority of gamers. Anyway, that's just something I wanted to mention there. Like I said, I'm not a hypocrite. I play multiplayer games online. I get in there with other people and play it. But I stay away from those ones that are considered to be like, overly competitive, the CODs and the League of Legends, and even the competitive and multiplayer stuff in World of Warcraft that I avoid. It's just not for me. So anyway, the other thing I wanted to mention was I saw a comment somewhere in regards to E3 or an E3 video or on YouTube or something where somebody was like, oh, gaming in 4K is going to be so amazing. It's so beautiful. And it made me realize something I had wanted to talk about for a long time, which is we've kind of gotten to a point with consoles and computers and all that where if they get any more real looking, if the graphics are any more realistic, some people are going to have their minds blown by that. Some people are waiting for that. They want it. Me, I don't. I think, from what I've seen so far from PS4 and Xbox One games, I think we've kind of hit that threshold where it begins to start looking too real so that it doesn't feel like a video game anymore. And that's a big thing to me. A video game should look and feel like a video game. It should not look and feel like reality. It should come close. It can emulate it closely. But if you go beyond that threshold, it's just like, okay, I'm just looking at real life now. and I can go out into the world if I want to look at real life. I don't care what kind of amazing things you can do in a video game, even if it looks that realistic. I want a game where you can kind of tell, yeah, this is a video game. That's what immerses me into the video game. I don't know if that explains it well, but I think halting my own gaming journey at the PS3 and 360 level, with the possible exception of maybe getting a Wii U sometime, I think halting it at that gen is just about right. I think games look really nice, but they don't have to look so realistic that you can't differentiate it from real life. I want video games to feel like video games, and then I want to turn around and go out into real life and experience real life. And I don't need a video game to completely and totally resemble reality to that extent. Like I said, I'm not sure if my intention here is coming, across clearly or not, but I remember what it was like the first time I played games like Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time and the first Tomb Raider on the PlayStation. When I first got a feel for what it was like to be in the 3D space in a video game, those games were perfect for it. Like literally, when you moved the sticks, when you moved the D-pad, when you moved any part of the controller scheme to make your character look around, there was a weight and a feel about it, and you could tell that they were 3D objects, but they weren't real. And when it got to the PS2, everything looked a little prettier, but you still had that feeling that you were in a video game's 3D space. And things on the PS3 and the 360 kind of perfected that without going beyond, like I said, into that reality threshold. Now, if consoles, and this would never happen, but if consoles like the Xbox One and the PS4 and the best and most current PC hardware were to keep graphical limitations to that of like the PS3 and the 360 and just make bigger worlds and more interactive worlds, that'd be one thing. But I think they're really, really striving to make things look as if you're standing right there without the assistance of, virtual reality like Oculus Rifts and things of that nature. And that's just what, I don't know what the correct terminology would be for it, but it just kind of turns me off to that. I don't want it to be that realistic. And I don't know, that's just really all I can say about that. I think it's going to be too much, and maybe part of my fear is that where I'm already kind of at that line and so close to crossing over, the more realistic you make the video games, the less attached people will be to the real world, and the more they will cross over into just the video game world. And for me, that's just not fun. Once again, it goes back to the fun factor, like I mentioned with the multiplayer stuff. I want gaming to be fun. I don't want it to be too realistic. I don't want to feel like I'm just staring through a window into somebody else's actual reality. I'm looking through someone else's eyes in a video game, but I don't want it to look that real, if that makes any sense. So anyway, I guess that's going to wrap it up for this. Just some random thoughts about some gaming things. And I'll see you in the next video.